Hi everyone, welcome to Tidy TV, where I bring the classroom to you. I'm Hannah John, and today I'm with Angela, who will be spending time sharing about her experience with the GKS interview. Stay tuned. Can you talk about your experience in preparing for the interview and also, what you did practically and also how you prepared your heart and mind for those few minutes for that interview?
So when I got to know that I'm gonna have an interview, that was, I think, in the mid of April. That was pretty late, I would say, a little bit late. Mm-hmm. And I received an email from the GKS office. We had this WhatsApp group where all the applicants who were applying to EVA were on that WhatsApp group. So there were so many students. I think there were more than 70. And they were all from different countries and applying for different departments, not really GKS, but there were many for GKS as well. So when we got to know that we're gonna have an interview, they later sent us a date, like the specific date and a slot. So you have only like 5 minutes to talk. And I don't know if I should call it unfortunate, but that year they decided to have a Zoom interview. Mm-hmm. So instead of having a phone call, which they would do like in the previous years, it was a Zoom interview with some professors on the panel and I think GKS office members, I guess. So you have to present in 5 minutes only. Like you have to say everything that you want to in 5 minutes. Do not like beat around the bush and be straight to the point what you want to get there. When we were preparing the interview, I had the slot, the timing. And because I was in that group, I also knew like some people were before me and after me. What I personally knew, and I heard from other applicants, that they basically ask you about your SOP. You should know what you have written and you should be thorough with it. Like, of course, you're not getting your SOP written from somebody else, right? So you... Unless you do that, you should know what you have written, right? So basically, they don't ask you anything out of the world. They will ask you something about your major. And if you're really interested in that major, you will know something. It's a given, I think. Like, if you're really interested, you would know something at least.
So what were your impressions of the interview?
My interview, it was 3 o'clock in Korea. But that was like around 11 for me in India. I was like already sitting down, maybe like an hour ago, and trying to think what I could say because it can get very overwhelming since you have only this much time and you don't know what might be asked. When it started, it was only 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes, and when it finished, I went outside my room, and my parents were in the room because we were all quarantined that moment. They asked like, "Is it over?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Already?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was it." And they were like, "That was too short." I said, "I know, don't scare me more." Like I was already scared, so. In the 3 minutes, they asked me 5 questions. The first question was briefly introduce yourself. So I tried to stick very brief. I think I took like 40 seconds or something. That was like super quick. And I didn't talk a lot. I just introduced my name, what did I study, what all I studied, where I'm from, and what are my interests. Yeah, that was what I said in the brief introduction. And then they asked me like why I want to apply for IR. That was the question. And I talked about why I want to apply and how I got interested in international studies as first. And why EVA GKS. And then I talk about the 21st century program. Like I will always talk about it. So yeah, I talk about it because I came from a very practical based background. So I wanted to study something that's more interesting and creative, like not completely theoretical. And the fourth question was why Korea and why not like other countries like China or Japan? Like if I'm interested in East Asia, like why only Korea? So I spoke about why I only like Korea. I mean, like, I did not watch a lot of other cultural stuff, but I only watch more Korean stuff. I talked about how I also volunteered as being an army and stuff, so it kind of fell in place somehow. And the last question, the last question was my study plan. Yeah, and I was a bit shaken that time, like, how do I explain a full page study plan? And I talked about what electives I'm gonna take, like according to my area of interest. Back then thought that I would do a research, so I mentioned the research that I wanted to do. And it was quick, and professor was a part of my interview.
And again, as a disclaimer, we don't know actually if we're going to go into an interview well before the actual interviews. It really depends on our own schedules. We do like to have a mix of faculty to go in, and so I'm very, flattered for those who are, subscribe to my channel and watch my contents. Don't be disappointed if I'm not there. Don't be even more disappointed if I am there. All of the questions also, it really also depends on the department and who's asking the questions. So even if you apply for GSIS at Ewha, it could be that you have many different questions from the faculty members, just depending on who's giving the question. Please just keep them in mind. It's not set in stone always, but yeah, I think Angela's comments would be really helpful. What were your impressions of the interviewers?
There were 4 people in total. One of them was from GSI's office and 3 professors on panel. It was so quick, I couldn't really see it properly, like everyone and everybody's faces. I couldn't really focus because it was so quick and I just had to say so many things. But I remember there were 4 people, if I'm not wrong. And it was so small, Zoom windows. I was really nervous because I didn't really expect it to be a Zoom interview in the first place, because I always heard that it's going to be a phone call. You get less anxious on phone call when you're not looking at people directly. It was very nerve-wracking, but I still remember very vividly that when I entered the Zoom video call, you told me that just be calm and take your time and answer them. Just answer them casually, smoothly. And I was like, okay. I just went on saying things, and when it was 3 minutes or something, I was actually stopped. From when I was completing my study plan, they were like, okay, that's it for today. I was like, mangesto. I literally thought I did really bad, and that's why I was stopped. And I was really worried because in the group everybody was they had 7 minutes and they talked so much. They had 7 to 8 questions and I had only 5 really short questions. But it doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of your answers. And even if it's very brief, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you are able to put what you really want to say in 2 or 3 sentences. You don't really have to tell a story. I do love storytelling, but that wasn't the moment for telling stories, I only had to put really quick, directly what I want to say.
Because we have limited amount of time, it's not that we don't appreciate your answer, it's just that we want to make sure that those after would also be given, the same amount of time. And so I guess also it depends on who's interviewing you. Some might be more generous and let you kind of go on. For me, I tend to be kind of... And so if you're going on and we know that you only have 30 seconds, then we're kind of Again, it's not to make you feel even more nervous or that we don't appreciate you. Again, it's just to make sure that we can give that same time and opportunity for those after you. Just because you speak a long time doesn't mean you're doing great. And just because you have a short interview doesn't mean that you failed or 망했어. And so also, a last note, because of COVID, again, we've switched a lot of things to Zoom. I actually think that's to candidates' benefits because we can actually see you and match your name to your face. And it's much easier, I think, to show your enthusiasm through video rather than just through a phone call. Sometimes I actually really appreciate the Zoom format. The only challenge, of course, is internet connection. And so please, please, please make sure you go to a place that has great Wi-Fi. Otherwise, the most heartbreaking scenario is we have to stop the interview after, half a question because we just lose connection. I think what we do is we try to at least follow up with a call if that happens. But yes, please make sure that audio is working and that Wi-Fi is great. Any last minute suggestions or tips for our students who are preparing for interviews?
Sit in a bright place. That's very important. They should be able to see you and hear you, so no distraction. Basically what you would ever do for a video call. A formal video call. Stay calm. You don't have to be really nervous. Unless it's really in person, you could get, but it's still much better over a video call. Don't write things. That's not good. You should be able to speak yourself what you really want to do. So writing doesn't help. You might forget if you completely note down everything sentence to sentence. So do not do that. Just have some pointers and think that you want to speak about this if they ask you. Keep those in mind. Yeah.
So thank you so much again to Angela for taking time out of her very busy schedule.
It's vacation.
Actually, it's summer vacation. But still, there's so many things to do, so many places to go. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'm sure that our viewers, especially those who are interested in the GKS program, are very grateful for your time.
It's an honor to be here with Professor. Seriously, can you imagine? She was on my interview panel and I'm next to her now. I'm recording a video that's I think it's Umyong. Yeah.
Full circle.
Sometimes I feel things are very unbelievable.
Until next time here on Tidy TV. Bye.
Come to Iran.